if only they've made this movie into a franchise.
Blood, violence, and freaks of nature? Well then, come on. You're all gonna laugh at you.
What it do, y'all? Welcome back to Phantom of the Indie Review. It is your boy, Tricky Sick Dill, and today we're going to be talking about a movie from 1994 called BRAINSCAN. And let me just say, I'm a little bit annoyed that this movie has a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think this standalone sci-fi horror slasher is in a league of its own, and that's right, it's a sci-fi slasher. Horror films and computer games fascinated young Michael. So when his friend tells him that there's a CD-ROM game out there called BRAINSCAN that's gonna supposedly matches his idealistic fears, he's a bit skeptical at first. This movie stars young Eddie Norton, young Eddie Furlong as Michael, a young kid in the suburbs whose dad is out on business and he's, wreaking havoc, stalking girls, like having neighborhood crushes with this girl across the street, like films and like takes pictures of. He goes to school, he has a horror club, and people label him a misfit, outcast creep.
Film you were watching.
Death, death, death.
Death, death, death.
Part 2.
Oh, Lord.
He's a sweet guy, though. It's Eddie Norton. Fuck.
Get it together, man! Get it together!
It's Eddie Furlong. Like, what are we doing here? So his friend tells him about this game, BRAINSCAN. He's like, yo, bro, this game might just spook you. So he calls about it. This is an early 90s movie, so it ain't no laptops, MacBooks type shit, iPhone 17s, like iPhone 12s. Like, he's got this computer monitor with like this old decrepit Igor logo that's like yes master, which is kind of cool, but it's like a little outdated.
Wow, that is some Stone Age shiznit.
But that brings it an aesthetic that's very pleasing to me. Early 90s technology, I really have a fondness for it. So he calls up this hotline and he's like, yo, tell me about this game. And he's a bit reluctant. And all of a sudden there's like a transporter over him that makes him order this game. So the next day in the mail when it comes, he's a little profound. On his way home from school, he witnesses a crime scene and he sees a detective standing there. The detective looks at him and he's like, go home, kid. And he does. Let's just say that this detective comes back to be a nuisance, a big problem. So he gets this game, plays it, and essentially it's a simulation of a murder that when he goes into the game and comes back out, he didn't quite realize what had happened until he turned on the local news. I'm not going to spoil any more of the plot. One thing I like about this movie, it was said that director John Flynn, when he got the script for this, read it, and there was an overlying, and the overlying villain was the CD-ROM itself, like a projecting voice that disembodied itself and came out and talked to him. But this is where he took his creative geniusness and hired the actor T. Ryder Smith to play the trickster. Like, the physical embodiment of the trickster is just so chaotic and fun. Like, him alone should have his own franchise. Like, he reminds me of a blend of like Freddy Krueger and that monster off that movie Little Monsters, I think it's called, that Howie Mandel monster. T. Ryder Smith alone, phenomenal. I wish he had gotten more movies, man. I really do.
You mad, bro? You must be mad. Bro, you're mad. You're mad.
When the detective played by Frank Langella starts to question Michael, there's a cat and mouse game of him being like, I know you have something to do with these grisly Sleepy Town tragedies, and Michael has to beat the game to prove that he's innocent. It's twisty-turny, it's well-paced, it's set in the early 90s, so I love that aesthetic. I usually get nostalgia-ridden from that. It's good atmosphere. I'm a sucker for atmosphere. And the performances all around are great. Even the kid who played his friend Kyle, which is Jamie Marsh. I don't like to spoil movies, but however, I'm not going to get more into details because the more I say, the more it unravels the movie, and this movie has an ending that you don't want spoiled to you.
Don't play no shit. You feel me? Gator never been about that. Never been about playing no shit.
So yeah, like the thought to me of a video game being so like submersive that like when you're done playing it, you're genuinely terrified is something that's hard to come by. Like, we're so jaded from like horror movies and games and television that like for this kid Michael, like something really did scare him fierce. And I feel like that's relatable to a lot of us, especially young kids who are like, oh, movies don't scare me, but there's got to be something that triggers your fears. It's a one and done movie. I really wish they had made a franchise out of it. The character of the trickster was excellent, but we got the one movie and I highly suggest it. So fuck around and find out. I give this movie a solid 8.5 out of 10. That's right, I did it. So with that being said, y'all, this is Phantom of the Indie Review. Give me a hell yeah for horror. Like, it brings a whole new meaning to quit playing games with my heart. Mosley.